Welcome back to Beyond the Buzzer, episode 5. Back again. What's up, Austin? How you doing?
Good, Dylan. How are you doing? Some big news this week.
Yeah, doing well. Excited to talk about some news, NFL, NBA. Some pretty significant stuff in the past couple of days. So we'll get it started with some free agency, um, some of the franchise tags, some trades. So let's start us off, Austin. Give me something to talk about.
Let's start with our Giants. How about that? Some big news. I heard Leonard Williams will be receiving the franchise tag, and hopefully they'll be working towards a long-term deal. In order for this to happen, there will have to be some restructures of some contracts. Some guys that I think that will be restructured are Nate Solder. That's probably one of the biggest ones. There's a chance that Jabril Peppers is restructured and James Bradbury. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on bringing back a guy like Leonard Williams, who had an amazing season.
I'd love to bring back Leonard Williams. I said a couple episodes ago that I would love to bring him back, but he is going to be, a lot of money. He's going to want top interior lineman payment. And I think with the franchise tag, he's getting $19.3 million. So he's probably going to want more than that. Um, so I would probably make that sacrifice, but that means we're obviously going to have to adjust some other guys' contracts. Like you said, Nate Solder, maybe Jabril Peppers. I saw that Joe Judge wants to bring back Dalvin Tomlinson, Nate Solder, and Kevin Zeitler. He wants to bring all three of those guys back, he said in an interview. I don't know if that's possible. I honestly don't really want all three of those guys back. I'd like to have Dalvin Tomlinson back, but I don't really know about those other two guys because Nate Solder wasn't really good 2 seasons ago. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I would 100% bring back Tomlinson. I think that he is extremely good. I think that the defensive tackles in this year's draft class are not so amazing. On the other hand, I really am a big supporter of Kevin Zeitler as well. Although they're going to have to restructure his contract. I heard that they're either restructuring him or he's getting released or traded. So it's one of the three options at this point. I think that if they do keep him, it will be on a team friendly deal. I think that he had a very good year. I think that he is a really good blocker. And I think he gives time for guys like Matt Pert and Shane Lemieux to develop a little bit more, which is really good and what the Giants need. And I think that Nate Solder is expendable. I think that you could release him. I really don't see the Giants releasing him, though. I think that they're going to try to restructure his deal down to a $1 or $2 million deal, though. So there is a chance that they can keep all three. It will hinder their ability to sign big name free agents, like I will talk about in a few. But I think that they will keep all 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. I think Zeitler was probably the most consistent lineman this year out of all the other guys since, some of them were rookies. Nick Gates was really good this year at center. He played, I think, every single snap of the season, so I really like that. But Zeitler was definitely one of our best O linemen. Now, to continue with the Giants, we have Kenny Galladay, who is not being franchise tagged. He is really a big free agent target for the Giants, who are in desperate need of that wide receiver one position. What do you think is the deal with Kenny Galladay?
They need to sign Kenny Galladay. The New York Giants have there's a few wide receiver targets that they've been looking at. I've been hearing Curtis Samuel being one of them. His name has been thrown out there a lot, especially because of his relationship with Dave Gettleman and when he was with the Panthers. Another guy that's name's been thrown out there a few times. I don't know. I think this one's a little bit more unrealistic if he doesn't get the tag is Allen Robinson. I could see him going. I think that he wants to be in New York. I think the Jets will sign him though. I don't think he wants to be a Giant as much. And the other guy is Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but there's a lot of buzz around the Giants signing him. But I think that Galladay out of all those guys is the best option when healthy. Galladay is a top 15 to top 10 receiver. He's a big playmaker. I really like that about him. He's young. He'll be able to line up on the opposite side of as Darius Slayton, and that moves Sterling Shepard to slot where he really needs to be because that's where he was playing the best. Now that Golden Tate has been released, it completely opens up the offense, allows the Giants to play out 3 receivers and Evan Ingram as of right now. There's still a chance they might draft Kyle Pitts, a tight end, but I think that if they focus on the offense and they do bring in a guy like Kenny Galladay, I think that opens up the NFL draft for the Giants to move back potentially because Dave Gettleman was talking about that, or move up and draft another big playmaker, which he was also talking about in his interview today.
And if the Giants unfortunately do strike out on any of those guys, like you said, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, you did mention a guy, Curtis Samuel, who I certainly wouldn't mind. the Giants signing if it's not like too big of a contract. We saw him last year in Carolina scoring rushing touchdowns, scoring passing touchdowns, doing everything. So if the Giants can add like a multi-dimensional weapon to line up with Saquon, with Slayton, who's a speedy receiver, if they don't get that good wide receiver one, which I'd obviously want, but if they can grab Curtis Samuel, I certainly wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I wouldn't oppose it either. I think that at the end of the year, when they were lining up Samuel at running back, he was playing extremely well. They also could swing him out wide. A lot of jet sweep, a lot of big time plays can be made out of a guy like that, and that's why I like him a lot. I think I see things in Jalen Waddle as well, that is very similar to Curtis Samuel's game. So if they strike out on all of them, there's a chance that they draft Jalen Waddle, who could fit that same exact role.
Yeah, I really want Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle or Pitts are my two guys that I want the Giants to draft. What about you?
So as of right now, my top three guys, I think would be number one. I really want Kyle Pitts. I think that he's a big time playmaker. I think that he doesn't drop balls in the red zone. And I think he's the opposite of what Evan Ingram is, which is he's completely consistent. He's going to be able to play every single game of the year. He didn't really miss games except for when he had that big hit against Lewis Sign, who gave him the concussion for like 3 to 4 weeks. The year before that, he played every single game. He was put into the Heisman contention. He was top 10 in Heisman voting this year as a tight end. That has really never happened before. He's just a generational type talent. Another guy I would like the Giants to look at would be Jamar Chase. He is, in my opinion, the number one receiver in the draft class, number two pass catcher behind Kyle Pitts. He is electric. He's a very big playmaker. I really like his game a lot. I don't think the Giants will draft him, though, especially after Dave Gettleman's concerns about guys not playing and putting on pads in 20 months. I really don't think the Giants would pick a player that's set out this year, which also eliminates an option like Micah Parsons, which would be a linebacker. And the other guy I would love to have, although he can be a bust, some people are saying it, Devonta Smith. Guy is amazing within open space. Get that guy the ball. He's going to score on any single defensive back if he creates space. The issue is he's undersized and he is very lanky. Corners are going to try to eat him alive and he will get hurt because he's going against grown men now and he's not going against college corners.
Yeah,
so those are big three.
A physical corner against Devonta Smith is going to be a nightmare for him just because of how tiny he is in size. But I mean, in the open field, like you said, he's amazing. He's had several multiple touchdown games this season. Played amazing in the national championship. So I don't think he's the guy for the Giants, and he probably won't fall to the Giants. The Giants need that physical wide receiver one like a Kenny Golladay that can come in and be an instant impactful guy. Or maybe like a Jamar Chase, who probably won't fall again. But yeah, Devonta Smith, he's gonna have to put on a little weight probably to make an impact in the NFL against some of these bigger cornerbacks. So to stay in the NFC East, stay in the NFC East, we can talk about Dak. What were you gonna say? What's up?
No. I was going off of what you were saying.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll stay in the NFC East. Talk about Dak. He got a huge deal, 4-year, $160 million. Tell me your thoughts about that.
To pay a player that type of money when you're coming off an injury as bad as Dak Prescott is just not logical. They have the 10th overall pick. There's going to be quarterbacks there. I know it won't be Lawrence and I know it won't be Zach Wilson, but there will be quarterbacks. Mac Jones, maybe Trey Lance, Justin Fields. Why are you re-signing an injured quarterback for a 4-year, $160 million extension? It just doesn't make sense to me. Dak Prescott is a product of Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. We saw what he did in college. He translated over to the NFL, very similar to how he played at Mississippi State. I was expecting him to be good. I wasn't expecting him to be that good. That injury is really gruesome. I really don't think he's worth $40 million. I think that they should have tried to franchise tag him. They probably did. It didn't work out, and they were like, okay, we have to keep him. But I thought that extending him should have been a last resort, and I just don't think he is worth $40 million a year. How about you?
Dak has been itching for that extension. He's been itching for that money for the past couple of years. I think it was inevitable for the Cowboys to pay him, and I think they had to pay him. $40 million is a lot. It's a lot of money, And like you said, that was a pretty gruesome injury. You don't know how this guy's going to recover off of it, but I still think Dak Prescott is a very talented quarterback. He had like a 500-yard game this season before that injury. He was playing amazing. The Cowboys weren't winning that much, but he was playing great. He was leading that team. Andy Dalton came in, obviously not so great, but I think it was inevitable for the Cowboys to pay him, and they needed to do it. If they didn't, if I'm the Cowboys GM, I'm gonna give Dak Prescott his money. I don't want to take a chance on some of these QBs in the draft. I'd rather have my guy who's already established himself as a top QB in the league and give him the money and then work around him.
What I'm worried about is that he's going to play okay. I know he's going to come back. I just don't know how he's going to come back. He could come back and that contract could end up being like a Jared Goff. That's what I'm worried about. Detroit is paying Jared Goff $33.5 million this year. And if they get stuck with a contract like that, good for the Giants. But I really just don't understand at this point in time, right after that really bad injury, and you don't even see how the guy is rehabbing. You have all season to give this guy a big extension like he wants. You could give it to him mid-year. You should have just franchise tagged him, see how he plays, and if not, just suck up the money. But paying a guy $40 million for 4 years right now when he's coming off of an injury like that is just not logical, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's going to be talked about for a while, and we'll ultimately have to see until Dak plays to prove if that contract was worth it or not. So we also have Hunter Henry, who's not getting the franchise tag. I honestly think he's a really underrated tight end. What do you think about that? And what do you think about some possible landing spots?
Yeah, Hunter Henry is an underrated tight end. I'd have to agree with you on that aspect. I think that he is in the top 7 tight ends in football, in my opinion. I think that he is a very, very good pass catcher. I think his blocking abilities are a little bit underrated. Um, some possible landing spots for him. I've been hearing the Patriots, they really didn't have very good tight end play this year, and their offense usually is run through a tight end. Ryan Izzo and Devin Asiasi aren't the best tight end duo, or Dalton Keene. I don't think any of those guys really fit their system too well, and Hunter Henry will fit that system extremely well if he goes to the Patriots. The Colts, on the other hand, I think that's another team that could fit him pretty well. He's from that area. I think he has a house near Indianapolis in that area. Um, Hunter Henry would play great for the Colts. I think that he's a really good pass catcher. I think that he would help with the run game, especially that's really established in Indianapolis. They're really good at running the football. I think that he would be a great addition there as well. What about you? Do you think anywhere else?
I mean, the Patriots definitely need to fill that tight end hole. So I think that would be a good landing spot for him. Colts as well, especially with Carson Wentz. He's going to make a good immediate impact there. So I think, I mean, any place he goes, he's going to be good because he is a good player. Um, so yeah, I would like to see him on the Patriots probably just because they kind of sucked last year, and if you put a good player with Belichick, he's probably going to be good. Speaking of the Patriots, they just traded for Trent Brown, I believe, right, from the
Yep.
Raiders.
Uh-huh.
So what are your thoughts about that?
I'm a very, very, very big Trent Brown enthusiast. He's a former Gator. He's a very, very solid right tackle. The Raiders' offensive line this year played absolutely amazing. He's only making $11 million a year. He already played for the Patriots. He's very familiar with Belichick's offense, which I think is a great addition. They really didn't give up much. I think it was like a 5th rounder for Trent Brown and a 7th, which really isn't that bad. And I think that Trent Brown will help that offensive line immensely, especially with guys like David Andrews and Michael, the guy with the last name that starts with the letter O. They have a pretty good offensive line that's pretty established now in New England.
Mm-hmm. And staying with the Patriots, we've had some rumors circulating around Stefan Gilmore, some trade rumors not raining, 2 seasons ago, Defensive Player of the Year. He was a Pro Bowler last year, obviously not the solid, number 1 best cornerback in the league, but he still is up there. What do you think about those trade rumors with Gilmore?
I think that Stefan Gilmore's elite. I think that he still has another 3 to 4 good years in him. I think that as a corner 1, he can be a corner 1, but as a corner 2, he will be the best corner 2 in all of football. I think that there's teams that should be willing to trade a 2nd and a 3rd, or a 2nd and a running back, or a wide receiver, like a skill position type player to get him. One of those teams being the Browns, and one of those teams being the being the Giants. I think that if the Patriots were willing to give up, if the Patriots were willing to get Kareem Hunt and a second round pick from the Browns, I think that can get it done. I think that that would be a good trade because that puts him on the opposite side of Denzel Ward, who's a young and up and coming corner. So I think those two would play extremely well together. So I could see him going to the Browns and the Giants. The Giants should 100% look to get him. I think that him and Bradbury on opposite sides of each other would be unbelievable. I think and maybe a second and a running back like Wayne Gallman, I think can get it done. I don't know exactly if that's what they're looking for. Originally last year, I was hearing 2 firsts for him. I think that's exorbitant. I really don't think any team would be willing to give up a first for him this year just because he's aging. His contract's a little bit high. So that's what I think about Stefan Gilmore. I still think that he has another 3 to 4 good years left in him. What about you?
Yeah, I think Stefan Gilmore is still up there as one of the elite corners in the league. I think a large part why he wasn't as good and why the Patriots defense wasn't as good this year is because their offense wasn't as good. The defense was on the field for the majority of the game. Cam Newton couldn't complete passes. He couldn't get the offense rolling at all. The defense was probably tired every game. The time of possession was probably very, outnumbered against their favor. So the guys are out there struggling. Stefan Gilmore's got to guard the best receiver on the team for every single play. It probably takes a toll. Um, putting Stefan Gilmore on the Browns would be game over. The Browns are probably going to win that division. Denzel Ward and Stefan Gilmore, two probably top 5-6 corners in the league. That's locked down. Still got Myles Garrett. Still got that great defensive front. Pretty good linebackers, good secondary. That Browns team would be lethal. What do you think about them winning the division over maybe the Steelers or the Ravens?
Um, the Browns, I don't think would beat the Ravens. I really do not believe that. I think that the Ravens have a solidified number one. I think they're the number one team in that division. I think that having Lamar Jackson, who's been very, very good, he had a down year this year, but the year before that, he was unbelievable. J.K. Dobbins already has a year of experience. He's going to take a huge step next year. He's one of my breakout players for next year. I think that they will try to make a move for a receiver. They might trade up in the draft and get one of those guys like a Jalen Waddle who would fit their scheme unbelievably. I really think that they are the team to beat in that division. I think the Browns could be the team to beat, but with so many big attitudes on that team, I really don't see it really meshing together because it hasn't in a while. It really hasn't this year. They have 2 amazing running backs, 2 amazing wide receivers, a very good tight end, and a solid quarterback, and a very good defense. And they can't seem to make it work every single year. So there was a lot of hype around them this year. There's a lot of hype around them next year, and there's a lot of hype around them the year before that. And nothing's really come of it. So I really can't say.
I mean, the Browns, Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he can reconcile, that team and maybe bring that hype to fruition, and maybe they can become the team that they always said they were supposed to be. Obviously, the Ravens are a huge opponent in that division, and you still have Lamar Jackson going to be playing at an MVP level. Probably, well, it wasn't an MVP level last year, but he's still going to be, former MVP Lamar Jackson. And you never know what he's going to do on the next play. He could run for 40 yards. He could also launch it down the field. If they get a guy like Allen Robinson or Jalen Waddle in this offseason, that's a huge spot for them to fill that wide receiver one. So I mean, yeah, that was some good NFL talk. We have Brandon Scherf, who got the franchise tag again for the second year in a row, I believe, right?
Yep.
Um,
Correct.
Go
It
ahead.
doesn't seem like they're ever going to give him a long-term extension. I think that they're just going to keep franchising tagging him till eternity, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, and he's one of the top linemen in the league. He deserves to get paid, but I mean, Washington's doing their thing. They're building their team, so whatever they want to do, they they got. I guess so. Scherf is going to stay on the franchise tag. There were a couple rumors. I think yesterday, 2 days before, OBJ to the Bucks. I don't think that's going to happen just because Godwin got the franchise tag right now. I don't think it was ever going to happen, even if Godwin leaves, because they have a pretty rough cap situation there, and bringing Odell's huge contract wouldn't help.
No, wouldn't make sense. I never saw that happening. I think that was just buzz.
Yeah. A lot of buzz, as you said, big personalities in Cleveland, especially with Odell.
Agreed.
So I think that was some good NFL talk, right? We can move on to the NBA.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Big weekend in the NBA.
Yeah, we just had the All-Star game, all the festivities. It was a really eventful weekend. Well, not really eventful. I thought it was fun just because I don't know. I love All-Star weekend. Other people thought it was pretty underwhelming. We can start with the skills challenge. Devonta Sabonis wins. It's fine. Skills challenge, whatever. I'm not too excited about it. 3-point contest. There's a little bit to talk about here. Stephen Curry shows out. He's the best shooter in the world. He's the best shooter of all time. Period. I don't even want to hear anything about it. What are your opinions on Steph Curry and his performance?
That was unbelievable. He put on a show. Even in the All-Star game, he put on a show. The 3-point contest was just the beginning. The All-Star game, he was just on a different level. Him and Damian Lillard. My God, those two players are just unbelievable shooters. They were pulling up from like half court and just swishing shots. I think those two guys are probably two of the best shooters on the planet. I think Steph might take number one right now. I think he may have surpassed Ray Allen. I'm a very big Ray Allen fan. I think
100%.
one of the two. They're 1 and 2. It's interchangeable. But Damian Lillard is catching up. He's so clutch. Hopefully, him and the Trailblazers could do something in the playoffs. It would be fun to watch.
I think the Trailblazers need that third guy or just like some interior defense. Like they have Ines Cantor, who's one of the worst defending centers in the league. He is one of the best offensive rebounders and offensive centers in the league, or not one of the best, but top. But they do need some defense. Obviously, Dame and CJ aren't the best defenders in the backcourt. They did bring Derek Jones Jr., who has been hurt a little bit, but he is a good defender, athletic guy. They have Carmelo Anthony, who's obviously great off the bench, but I think the Trailblazers just need a little bit more to bring them into that upper echelon of the Western Conference.
I
Um,
thought that they have defense. I think that they have Robert Covington as well, who also is a very good defender.
they,
He was
they
amazing
they
with
do
the.
have good wing defenders. The interior is a bit rough because of Enes Kanter, and they did lose Hassan Whiteside to free agency. But yeah, obviously Rocco is a great defender. Derek Jones Jr. is a great defender. But I don't think if they're a contender, they're probably at the lower end of the contenders.
I'd have to
Um,
agree.
Yeah. But I mean, Damian Lillard, amazing all-star performance. Him and Steph Curry are incredible. Switching shots from half court, I like you've never seen before. This you can see how great NBA players are. Like, I mean, like Jaylen Brown, I saw him hit like a fadeaway like corner and 1-3 in the All-Star game. And it's just absurd. Like these guys are the top of their craft. Like you really got to appreciate how good these NBA players are. Like, you really don't think about it until you see it from a different perspective. Like these guys are truly so talented. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but the NBA players are amazing.
I do.
Um, so yeah, halftime of the All-Star game, we had the dunk contest. Obviously, my guy Obi Toppin, Anthony Simons, and Cassius Stanley. They all had great dunks. I think Obi Toppin got robbed. What do you think?
I'd have to agree. Okay, so Cassius Stanley was my front runner at the beginning of this. I thought that he was going to put on a show. He's my guy. I watched him at Duke. Kid could ball out. Um, I thought that he was going to win. His first dunk, I believe, was completely underrated. I think that everybody gave him such awful ratings. The second dunk, he lost it himself, though. That was a different story. Obi Toppin's dunks were unbelievable. Everything was through the legs because that's just what he is. He's an amazing dunker. I do not believe that Anafree Simon should have won, though. I think that Obi Toppin did get robbed. I'd have to agree with you. His first dunk we've already seen before from Tracy McGrady. I don't know why you wouldn't pull something out original. He literally was wearing a Tracy McGrady jersey. It was
He
just a
didn't even
homage dunk.
he didn't even do it as well. Tracy McGrady went all the way down to his heels and brought it back up. He just did a 360 like double clutch. He didn't even do it as well. It was still a good dunk, but he didn't do it as well. And then his second dunk, he had the little mini hoop where he jumped up from like 12 feet and got it. That was great. But it's still like from our perspective, yeah, it's a great dunk. Obviously, it's super hard jumping up 12 feet and grabbing a ball, but you got to think of something really out of the box to impress. I think he got like a 48 on that either way. So it's still good dunk. But I mean, Obi Toppin was doing between the legs bounce behind the back, jumping over two guys, windmilling, like he between the legs from basically the free throw line. Zach LaVine got a 50 from between the legs from the free throw line a couple years ago. And Obi Toppin was a foot in front. Still a crazy good dunk though. And Anthony Simons, his last dunk, I know I'm kind of ranting about this is dunk contest, but his last dunk, he didn't even do. Like, how are you going to give the guy the win for attempting to do a good dunk? Like, yeah, it was a good dunk. He tried to kiss the rim. It was an original idea, but he didn't complete the dunk. How are you going to give him the win?
I'd have to agree.
Yeah, but a little Knicks bias there. We'll go back to a bit of the All-Star game. Giannis wins MVP, shooting a record 16 for 16, scoring 30 points, I believe. That's crazy. I know in the All-Star game it's pretty easy if you're a big guy to score a lot of points because no one's gonna go up and block a shot against you. But he was hitting step back threes and he was banking in threes. He went three for three from the 3-point line. That's nothing we've ever seen from Giannis. I think he himself was surprised as well. Um, Nothing to really over exaggerate. I think it was a fluke, but congrats to Giannis for winning MVP. Um, LeBron didn't play the entire second half, possibly because of load management, but it is his team, so he can do whatever he wants.
Fair.
And then we also had Mike Conley being a late addition because Devin Booker sprained his knee. Personally, I don't think Mike Conley should have been an All-Star. It is his 14th year in the league though, and he has been eligible for it many years before with those Memphis Grizzlies team. They were top in the West, and I think he should have deserved one before. He gets one now because he is a fan favorite. Adam Silver gave it to him, or I think it might have been a vote. I don't know. Maybe another vote from the coaches, or maybe um, just the leftover votes from the reserve rounds. But Mike Conley deserves it. I also think DeMar DeRozan could have got it. I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander could have got it. There were some other guys out west that were in contention, but I am happy for Mike Conley. Um, and then we have some other big news, NBA. Blake Griffin to the Nets gets bought out, signed to the Nets for I think 1.2 million a year, or just for 1 year. What do you think about that signing as the Nets have a new big four?
I wouldn't consider it a big four. They have a big three and an aging veteran. Blake Griffin is overrated completely. He's out of his prime. Everybody's overhyping his signing. He's not going to play like the all NBA third team Blake Griffin because he can't dunk. He plays a different game now. He shoots threes. He's not what the Nets really need. He's going to be able to rebound. He's better. He's a better rebounder than he's going to be better. He's going to be a small ball center for the Nets. I think that he's going to be a better power forward than Jeff Green could have been for them. But I don't foresee him averaging more than 15 points a game. I think that it was a buyout situation where they were like, okay, let's bring another big name into Brooklyn. I think they would have been better off bringing in a guy like Andre Drummond, which still could happen if he does get bought out or traded in the end of the day. But I think that people are overhyping Blake Griffin to the Nets. What about you, Dylan?
Um, I think the complete opposite to you. I think it's a great signing, and I think it could possibly be a big four because 2 years ago he was all NBA third team leading the crappy Pistons to the 8th seed, and they did get swept, but he was injured that entire series. He was all NBA third team. He was playing amazing. He was an all-star. I still think he has that potential. I don't like that stat of how he hasn't dunked since 2019 because he can dunk. We've seen what he can do past 10 years of his career. I think in Detroit, he was honestly just going through the motions. He wasn't really playing with passion. Now that he's on a Nets team that he can contend with, I think we're going to see that energy be replenished in him. And I think he's going to become, like you said, a 15-point per game scorer. And that's all he needs to do. If he can score 15 points a game, the Nets are locked for this championship. I don't care how bad their defense is. You can't stop Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Blake Griffin there. You can't.
Good offense beats good defense nowadays. I have to say, it's whoever's going to score the most points is going to win the game. That's how basketball works. I think that the Nets will be able to contend, but I think that there's a lot of personalities there, especially with Kyrie Irving. I think he's toning it down a little bit now. James Harden is trying to tone it down a little bit now. Kevin Durant can't stay on the court, so I can't tell you enough about him. And Blake Griffin has typically been injury prone as well. If they all stay healthy and all play extremely well, then okay, we could see them be a big four or whatever. But I really just don't understand the hype about it.
I mean, addressing the defense problem what was definitely not solved by this Blake Griffin signing, but I think as we've seen in a couple games this season, especially the Clippers games, if the Nets need to lock up and get a stop, they can. James Harden, as bad as a defender as he is thought of as, he's really not that bad. He gets steals. He's a pretty big body. He's a great defender in the post, if you look at the advanced stats, he's a great post defender. So if he's playing a shooting guard that does have a post game, he can lock him up. Maybe he's guarding. I know DeMar DeRozan is a power forward because he starts power forward now for some reason. But if he's defending DeMar DeRozan in that post game, he's a great post defender. Kevin Durant is a totally average defender. He's a good, long, lanky guy. So if they need to lock up and get a stop, they certainly can. And there's no problems about getting buckets at the other end because we all know they can do that with ease. So I mean that was some Nets talk. We also have, like you said, Andre Drummond rumored to get bought out. Probably will get bought out or traded. The Lakers, I heard, are confident that Andre Drummond will come if he does get bought out. And if I'm Andre Drummond, hell yeah, I'm going to the Lakers. I'm going to compete. Lakers Nets finals. That's gonna be a great series. What, you don't want Drummond going to the Lakers?
No, if I'm Andre Drummond, I'm going to Brooklyn.
I guess you can take the easy route and go to Brooklyn, but I don't know. I mean, either route is good if you're chasing a ring. Probably the going to the Nets would be easier for Drummond to secure that ring. But I think if they want to have a battle, I think LeBron. I mean, you're gonna want to play with LeBron by the end of your career. So, Drummond, it's honestly a coin toss, and maybe he does get traded to a team he doesn't even want to go to. So we don't know.
Yep.
As we were talking about, trade deadline is coming up. Kyle Lowry is one of those names in circulation. He has roots in Philly, your team. So Sixers could be interested. He did sell his Toronto house. I saw he sold his house in Toronto, so that could be signs. Maybe him and the Raptors are in trade talks, and we could see something go down at the deadline. What do you think?
I think he's as good as gone. He's either going to Philadelphia or Miami at this point, in my opinion. I think Miami has been talking about bringing in him or Westbrook or John Wall. It's one of the three of them. They want a big time point guard. They'll be able to trade Goran Dragic to get one of them just because his contract could help match it. The Sixers cap situation is a little bit more difficult. Trying to move a guy, maybe they would have to move a guy like Tobias Harris, who I really don't want to move. Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and maybe one of Matisse Thybulle or Tyrese Maxey can get it done for Lowry. I really don't want to move Thybulle unless they get a really big star, which I really don't foresee happening right now. Lowry would be amazing in Philadelphia. He has his roots there. I think that he's a really good point guard. I think that he could lead them to the finals because he did it with Toronto and having only Kawhi, now adding Ben Simmons, which now allows him to play off ball where he's so much better, and allowing Tobias Harris to move to the 4 and having MVP Embiid at the 5. I think that just opens up the offense a lot more.
Yeah, if they're able to get that trade done, I think they're going to have to trade Tobias Harris away to make the money match because Lowry's getting $30 million this year. So, and Tobias Harris is one of the biggest contracts on their books, and they're not going to give away Ben Simmons. They're not going to give away Embiid. So Tobias Harris is probably the odd man out. Would you rather have Kyle Lowry or Tobias Harris on your team?
I'd rather have Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is a much better player than Kyle Lowry, in my opinion. Tobias Harris, and also in my opinion, got snubbed from the All-Star game. That he's totally had a better season than Ben Simmons did. As of right now, he puts up more points a game and more. I think it was assist or rebounds, one of the two categories he has more than Simmons in. But I think that Tobias Harris is severely underrated. I think that they could make the cap situation work out if they were to trade Mike Scott and Danny Green. Those two guys also could help make it work. And Seth Curry, if they wanted to do all three, completely makes it work. But I don't know if they're going to be willing to part ways with all three of those guys. I really don't see that happening. I think that Danny Green back to Toronto, Mike Scott, and Terrence Ferguson, that's like $24 million. And then they have to take on $6 million in cap and give away 2 first-round picks, though. If they were willing to trade 2 first-round picks, they could get Kyle Lowry.
And I mean, I think I disagree with you. I think I'd rather have Kyle Lowry than Tobias Harris just because he is a floor general that allows Ben Simmons to play off the ball, which you said he is better. I think Ben Simmons playing at power forward in probably a more natural position as him. He can be like a bit of a secondary playmaker where he doesn't have to worry about getting 8 assists a game. He can worry more about scoring on the interior, which is really all he can do. And that would be really good for the Sixers. They have Embiid, they have Seth Curry. If they can keep him, that Seth Curry Kyle Lowry combo would be deadly. Seth Curry moving off the ball, he's shooting at amazing splits right now. And Kyle Lowry to be the backbone of that team, to be the floor general, would be amazing. We've seen him lead a championship. Well, not lead a championship, but guide a championship along with the helps of Kawhi and Siakam in Toronto. I think if the Sixers are able to get Lowry, that could definitely put them in the top of the league in the contender wise sense.
I'd have to disagree. I think they already are in that category. They are the number one team in the East. Everybody's overhyping the Nets. The Nets are still a half game back. The Sixers are the number one team in the East, whether Nets fans like it or not. I think that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can play together. I think that it's been evidenced when the whole starting lineup's been there. I think they've only lost like 3 or 4 games the entire year. They beat Utah. And I think that they're one move away from being the number one team in the NBA, in my opinion. Because if they get one more solidified star without trading Tobias Harris, which could be Kyle Lowry, if they make that deal, that I think puts them ahead of Brooklyn.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some good NBA talk. Trade deadline's going to heat up soon. I think it's March 25th, I believe. So that's coming up. I just got a notification on my phone. Allen Robinson was franchise tagged to the Bears. So he'll be there again. Kind of unfortunate for Giants fans and some other fans who, or some other teams who need a wide receiver, one around the league. But yeah, I mean, Trubisky's probably out for the Bears this season, so they got to go get their quarterback. So maybe they orchestrate a trade around a guy maybe like Jimmy G, maybe Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, probably not. But what do you think about that?
I have to disagree with you. I think that it is good for the Giants that Allen Robinson got franchise tagged. I think that another NFC East team could have signed him, like the Cowboys. I thought they would have been maybe interested. I thought that adding another wide receiver, maybe they were going to look to trade Michael Gallup. I don't know about that, but I was hearing that was a rumor out there a while back. I also thought the Redskins were going to be interested in adding another receiver next to McLaurin. I thought that was going to be another possibility. So I'm kind of happy that that kind of happened because it keeps them out of the NFC East. It also keeps them away from Jets fans because I knew they were very adamant about having him. But as of right now, he got franchise tagged. He still can be traded.
Yeah. And you were talking about the football team, Washington football team. They did release Alex Smith. So I, as a Giants fan, I 100% would love for Alex Smith to come in and be a backup for Daniel Jones because he is injury prone. Hopefully he can play a full season this year as he hasn't in his rookie and sophomore year. If he's able to put 16 games out on the field for the Giants, love that. As history goes, though, he probably won't. So Alex Smith would be a great option at backup as opposed to Colt McCoy, who did win us 2 games last year, Bengals and Seahawks, which was great. That was most of the defense. So yeah, Alex Smith could be a great option. Come and mentor Daniel Jones. If Eli Manning doesn't get a spot on the staff, which I've heard a little bit, that would be great for the Giants and Giants fans. But yeah, Alex Smith is going to be a good backup option anywhere around the league.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that adding Alex Smith to the quarterback's room in New York would be absolutely amazing. Having a guy who won comeback player of the year last year, especially after his gruesome injury with his leg. I really think that he would be a great addition. I think that he could help mentor Jones, which is very key right now, especially with him being a very young quarterback, making some mistakes that it seems like he's going to polish up this year. I think that adding a guy like Alex Smith would be great for the Giants.
Yeah. So hopefully the Giants can take a leap, get some guys free agency off season. We'll be looking out for some moves. I think we're gonna end it off here, right? We're good.
Yep, sounds
All right.
good.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching
Yep.
episode 5. Subscribe and like. We appreciate all your guys likes and stuff, comments. Comment down below what you guys want to see us talk about, anything else.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see
All
you guys
right.
next week. Peace.
Peace.